The night was colder than usual, and the wind whispered through the broken window panes of a small, dimly lit house at the edge of town. Inside, a single father named Daniel Carter sat by a flickering lamp, his tired eyes fixed on a stack of unpaid bills scattered across the worn wooden table. His hands were calloused, his face lined with exhaustion, the kind that comes from years of silent struggle. In the next room, his little boy, Tommy, slept peacefully, unaware of the weight his father carried on his shoulders. It had been 3 years since Daniel's wife, Laura, passed away in a car accident. Since then, he had been fighting to hold his world together, working 2 part-time jobs, fixing cars by day and delivering groceries by night, just to keep the lights on. That night, as the wind howled outside, Daniel wondered how much longer he could keep going. But fate, it seemed, had something unexpected planned for him. Just before midnight, there came a faint knock on the door. Daniel froze. No one ever visited this late. The knock came again, softer, but more desperate. He stood up slowly, the floor creaking beneath his feet, and opened the door just a crack. There, shivering under the falling rain, stood a little girl, no more than 8 or 9 years old. Her hair was dripping wet, her small hands clutched a soaked stuffed bear, and her lips trembled as she whispered, "Please. Can I stay here tonight? I'm lost." Daniel's heart clenched. He didn't have much to offer, barely enough for himself and Tommy, but he couldn't leave a child out in the cold. He brought her inside, wrapped her in a blanket, and gave her one of Tommy's old shirts. She sat quietly, holding the warm mug of cocoa he made her. Between soft sobs, she said her name was Emily, and that she'd gotten separated from her father during a long road trip. He'd stopped for gas, and when she came out of the restroom, he was gone. Daniel called the local police, but the storm had damaged power lines and blocked roads. The dispatcher said they might not reach him until morning. So Daniel did the only thing he could. He told her she'd be safe there for the night. He didn't sleep. He sat on the couch watching over the 2 children, his son and this lost little girl, the room dimly lit by the last of the lamp oil. He thought about Laura, about the day she'd left and never returned. He thought about how fragile life could be, how one second you have everything, and the next, it's gone. And as he watched Emily sleep, clutching her teddy bear, something inside him softened. He realized that kindness doesn't come from wealth, it comes from the heart. When morning arrived, sunlight spilled through the thin curtains, washing the room in gold. The storm had passed. Daniel made pancakes using the last bit of flour he had. Emily laughed for the first time since she arrived, her laughter mingling with Tommy's, a sound Daniel hadn't heard in far too long. For a brief moment, the house felt alive again. But around noon, there was another knock on the door. Firm, urgent. Daniel opened it to see a man in an expensive suit, his eyes red and weary. And before Daniel could speak, the man rushed forward, tears streaming down his face. "Emily!" he cried. The girl ran into his arms, sobbing with relief. It was her father, Richard Monroe, a businessman from another state. He explained that he had been searching all night with the police and volunteers, offering a reward to anyone who found his daughter. When he saw Daniel's small house and learned that this man, a stranger with almost nothing, had taken his daughter in, his voice broke. He tried to offer Daniel money, but Daniel refused. "Sir," he said softly, "I don't do good deeds for pay. I just did what any father would do." Richard stood there, speechless. He looked around the humble home, the cracked ceiling, the faded furniture, the patched clothes, and then back at the man who had given his child safety and warmth without asking for anything in return. He left that day changed, deeply moved. Weeks passed, and life went back to its quiet rhythm. Daniel returned to his repair shop, still struggling to make ends meet. But one morning, an envelope arrived in the mail. Inside was a letter signed by Richard Monroe and a small brass key. The letter read, "Dear Daniel, you once said you don't do good deeds for pay. But I believe good men deserve good chances. This key belongs to a small auto garage in town. It's yours now. May it help you build the life you and your son deserve." Tears filled Daniel's eyes as he held the key. For the first time in years, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The garage soon became his new beginning. Word spread through town about the man who had helped a lost girl during a storm, and people began bringing their cars to him. They trusted him, admired his honesty. Business flourished, and so did Daniel's spirit. Tommy had a happier father again. Every few months, Emily and her father visited. They'd bring cookies, gifts, and laughter, and every time, Richard would shake Daniel's hand, still grateful for that stormy night. And sometimes when Daniel closed his garage and looked up at the stars, he whispered a quiet thank you, to fate, to kindness, to the little girl who had knocked on his door when hope seemed lost. Because blessings don't always come wrapped in gold or comfort. Sometimes they come in the shape of a frightened child, a warm heart, and a single moment of compassion that changes everything.